Welcome to the Base Path Podcast, brought to you by New England Baseball Journal. I'm your host, Dan Guttenplan. Today we're going to dive into the world of travel baseball with the founder of one of the top travel programs in the Northeast. Pat Vigilio helped start Baseball UCT in 2006, and he remains the program director today. Baseball UCT has produced an average of about 20 college baseball players per year over the last decade, with multiple teams at the high school level. Pat, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Dan, for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're in the thick of the summer now. I would imagine you're with high school level teams. You're probably getting down to Georgia and Florida a fair amount. What stage of the summer are you in, and what is the rest of the summer going to look like for Baseball UCT?
We're at the back third of the summer right now. Just got back from an event in Georgia yesterday, actually, with one group. And we're getting ready to leave to participate in a Baseball U event down at Montclair State starting on Thursday morning. So,
and what are those events like? Well, our audience, we have a lot of, I'd say parents of kids who are kind of up and coming into the high school level and might not be familiar with those Georgia tournaments. What are those like for people who have never been? You know, are they very well scouted? Do you have a lot of college coaches interacting with players, or what can parents expect when their kids go down there for those types of tournaments?
I think what's happened is the travel baseball in general, everybody's looking to go to those events. However, some of the events are getting larger, but it doesn't necessarily mean the event's getting better. It becomes watered down. So unless you have a reputation going to those events, you could be at obscure fields in the middle of absolutely nowhere and may not have anybody recruiting or scouting any of your players or even watching your team. So having a reputation of being able to help players and having good, not only good players, but good student athletes, which is one of the requirements we're looking for in our program, that'll help put those kids in the right light for a college coach. So it helps to already have an established reputation when you go to those events. Yeah.
Yeah, I know we've talked before, and you said you're not handpicking guys and recruiting players just to help you win at these tournaments. You're a big part of your model is the development with multiple practices a week and things like that. What type of player are you looking for? You said the student athlete, the complete, the complete person more than just the baseball player. What types of players are you looking for, and how do you find those players?
Yeah, we hold an open tryout free of charge. We'll have 2 tryouts. We have one early tryout, which will actually happen in August, and then we'll have one for strictly summer only, which will take place in October. But we don't go around recruiting players off other teams or calling kids to participate in events because we're trying to make our roster stronger. Our belief is to take our players, just like from an educational standpoint, and help them improve, just like if it was math or reading, creating basically like an individual education plan, like an IEP, and where the kid falls and what kind of, teaching strategies we want to try to help the player develop. Now, with that being said, a lot of kids nowadays don't want to work at it. They want to just show up for games. They don't want to do the practices. So this organization definitely isn't for everybody. The way the transfer portal has become, where kids want to have flexibility and optionality to just kind of move around and go from here to there with no home base, has created a lot of challenges for not only college, but in travel ball as well. It's been that way for a long time. So we hope the kids will invest in themselves and work hard and get better, because that's what college coaches want. They want players that can play. So.
Yeah, and the practices seem to be unique. A lot of these travel programs, it's just games. You're playing, every weekend. How do you integrate practices into your, it sounds like you're doing a lot of traveling too. How many practices are you able to get in per week, and how do the parents feel about that?
Well, the parents love it. I mean, practice is where you get better. You don't get better during the course of the game. You learn how to adjust to the game as the game evolves, and try to get the kids to learn how to slow the game down and play the game within the game. We're actually practicing right now. So I was down at practice this morning and I left and came here to be with you, and we'll return back to practice. So we've had a couple different practice models since we began, and we've had to adjust simply based on numbers and based on COVID, because of what the towns would permit and not permit from a numbers perspective. And then we readjusted again last year based on how prepared the players are coming into the organization. So we're finding that because the kids are playing more at the younger level, they're not as baseball knowledge or baseball savvy as they were when they used to come in 15 years ago. So we're having to teach a lot of basic skills that, you would probably be taught at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. That the real fundamentals of the game from a younger level has really broken down. And that's where you're seeing where we have to put a lot more work into the base running, the cutoffs, the bunting mentality of, you bunt because you can't hit, versus at the high school, even more so at the college level, you bunt because you have to produce a run in some way, shape, or form. And it's a skill that's, we believe, simple. It's a matter of want. And we're trying to change mentalities, and that's tough.
You mentioned an IEP earlier, and that reminded me that you spent 26 years as a public school educator in the Norwalk school system. I'm wondering, because you've also coached at the college level at New Haven, and you have coached Green Farms Academy at the prep level. When you're the director of a travel ball program, do you find when parents are making a financial investment that their expectations become at all unrealistic? Then they say, hey, I'm paying for this, where's the scholarship? Are they looking for that end game where that investment returns at some point for them?
I think everybody's always looking for the end game. The bigger challenge, I think, for most people is having a realistic perspective of where their son's talent is. And that's at any youth sport right now. There are a lot of people that are doing this and that's their full-time job, and God bless them. That, don't begrudge anybody for trying to make a living, but giving the right message to the families and being honest with it. That's the hard part. As a former educator, majority of our coaches in our organization are educators. So this is not a full-time job for them. They do it because of their passion and love for the game and want kids to have better experiences. So the majority of our coaches have already accomplished educationally first, and then baseball wise second, what a lot of these kids and these families are looking for. So, we're on the field 3 days a week. When we first started, it was 5 hours a day, 3 days a week. Now it's 2 sessions for 2.5 hours, 3 days a week, unless we have an event in between. So the investment for me personally, and I tell the families this, is what you're investing in the practice time, not the game schedule. Anybody can put a game schedule together. So if you're putting a 45 game summer schedule together with bodies that are still youthful and growing and growth plates are open, and you're asking them to do what you would ask a college athlete to do, you are going to have bodies breaking down. And you're going to ask kids to do things that they normally wouldn't be able to do. And that's where the rub comes in. So are you paying to play 40 games, or are you paying to get better? And we believe we want people to invest in their son's development, not the game portion. Because I said, the game portion is easy. We could play 3 games minimum, or we could play 8 games based on the outcome of the event. But we never want to put a kid in a situation where he's being overextended on the mound. He's been overextended behind the plate. You're playing in 100-degree temperatures. And we're really mindful of that, to the fact that we have a mental coach that's a full-time person, but also has a teaching job that deals with kids all the time. That's accessible for our players. We have 2 nurses that attend all of our practices. So when we are outside in 100-degree heat, and somebody may not feel too well, we got the proper medical attention for our players as well. So we're just not relying on our own first aid certifications to take care of the kids. So we're trying to put them in the best spot always.
Hey, it's Bobby Moran, Director of Athletics at Thayer Academy. You know what? Experience matters, and Thayer Academy's professional coaching staff understands how to work with each student athlete to help them succeed. Our coaches and faculty are committed to ensuring both 5th to 12th graders feel known, connected, and prepared. This is Thayer's secret sauce, nurturing each student to reach their full potential. Here, success is truly a team sport. Are you ready for your child to take the next step? See what Thayer has to offer at thayer.org. That's THAYER.org.
Netting Professionals is proud to be the official netting partner of the Cape Cod League and the New England Collegiate Baseball League. Netting Professionals is in the sports business of improving athletic programs one facility at a time. Netting Professionals designs, fabricates, and installs custom netting, wall padding, windscreen, batting practice equipment, and much more for high schools, colleges, commercial facilities, and stadiums throughout the United States, while providing high-quality products and great service to numerous baseball programs throughout the New England area. To learn more and to speak to a Netting Professionals representative today, visit them at nettingpros.com. Remember, when it comes to netting, it's Netting Professionals.
Are you serious about playing your sport in college? Do you need a flexible education that allows you to maintain your practice and competition schedules while also preparing you to succeed at the next level? You should check out the University of Nebraska High School. UNHS is accredited and offers more than 100 online courses, including NCAA-approved courses to protect your academic eligibility. Students could earn a UNHS diploma or take a single course for transfer credit. Courses are college prep, self-paced, and available 24/7, 365. Enroll anytime and take up to a year to complete a course. Visit highschool.nebraska.edu today.
You do have a proven track record, you know, with the practices preparing guys and the developmental model preparing guys for the next level. You've had success with guys like Ben Kasparius and Patrick Winkle and Max Codier, and guys who have gone on and had a lot of success at the college and then even maybe moved on and played professionally. What about recruiting, though? I think, you know, we've talked, you and I have, I think, talked about this before, and so many high school coaches and prep coaches, travel ball coaches across the country are kind of expressing their frustration with the recruiting and trying to get guys to schools, because so much of it now at the college level, you're recruiting college players, you know, through the transfer portal and through the summer collegiate leagues. How has recruiting changed as you're trying to get guys opportunities to play in college over, I guess it's probably been, you know, since the start of the pandemic is when it's been the major shift?
Yeah, it's slowed down. It's actually gone back to where it used to be. So for me personally, this is not the first time I've dealt with the transfer portal. So back in 98, 99, I know it's a long time ago, but when I was coaching at Norwalk Community College, and we were the #1 team in the country there, and the 3 years I was there, we were 142-15, and we had draft picks constantly. You had 60 rounds of the MLB draft, and you had draft and follow, which was set up very differently than the draft and follow is today. You had a transfer portal. You had two rules. One was you couldn't transfer within your own conference, and the second one was you had to sit a year if you wanted. But you had college coaches then actively and heavily recruiting right out of the dugouts in the summer leagues. And it was nicknamed the Wild West. And now it's the Wild West again, except it's just been gasoline on it because you have the internet and you have more accessibility to a system of players. And, you know, you're close to 7,000. And the scary part is to think of all those kids the year before or 2 years before or 3 years before, they've been a part of somebody's roster. The reality is most of those kids aren't going to find a new home to go to have that opportunity. And I think that's what kind of spirals back to the travel ball piece, where they're so used to getting everything they want, or being the top player in their summer team, or being the top player in their state. Everybody coming in there is the top player in their state. There may be draftable kids that came in off a junior college as well. So you're no longer recruiting a kid based on a kid from another state, even in just the New England area. But their competition now is the kids in the portal, the kids in the junior colleges. So yeah, it gets tougher. College coaches' job and responsibility is to win college baseball games. And as tough as that is for people to understand, it's going to continue to get harder. So coaches aren't in a big rush right now, and rightly so. They have the autonomy and the flexibility to continue to recruit as long as they would like, because they have an access to a great deal of kids. And now that they're going to be able to leave mid-year as well, and they can go to the portal as many times as they would like, you're creating a lot of challenges for the college coaches as far as creating a culture and a climate to try to build a program. So it's not an easy task. I talked to a lot of coaches during the course of the day, a lot of younger college coaches, some that have played in our program, some that have coached in our program. And it's tough, and they'll ask recruiting strategies and, hey, Pat, what do you think you would do in this situation? Or how do I go about that? Or how do I prepare? And that's what it is. It's just trying to be prepared. And I think it's our responsibility as travel coaches to prepare parents and prepare players with honesty versus trying to make a kid get a commitment in the fall only, and then the coach releases them. And I think people are too worried about posting commitments versus having kids long term. And you and I've had this conversation before. If you look, a lot of our kids have a lot of success at college, and there's a reason for it. It's because they've committed to the practice. They've committed to the mental piece of, yeah, our guys are tired right now because, like I said, we've got 15 and 16-year-olds on the field right now. They started at 8:30. They were there at 8:15. The 17U players are coming. Some of them are coming off an event at Georgia, and some of them are coming off other events from the weekend. They'll be at practice in another 40 minutes, and they'll be there for another 2.5 hours today. So yeah, they're tired. There's an expectation. There's a goal, and there's standards. They're not rules. They're standards. And we don't want to continue to lower the bar, as education does, to make kids feel, good about false success. And that's what society has turned into. I saw it in education. We'll curb everything and give everybody the same thing. What we're going to give you is development. We did it at Norwalk Community College, and that's where the mentality of this all started. Was we would get kids in less than 8 months, and we turned them into a draft pick. Well, what changed? Did the kid change, or did the structure and the environment change? Did the instruction for the kid benefit player A, and why not player B? So let's figure out how we can get player B, who might have the same talent, to that next level too. And we just implemented it through the summer, and it's grown to, we only have 6 teams on a high school level at this point. We don't have younger teams. We have a Baseball U Connecticut prep program that's run by Nick Rhodes out of Danbury. And Nick is a former player of mine at Norwalk Community College, and was on that national championship team and has a facility in the Danbury area. And he was looking to be a part of something that would allow kids to have the right opportunity and bring in the right types of kids. And they've done very well. They just finished second in a national tournament at a 14U level. So there's a lot of work and a lot of planning, even on my end. And I was on a call with a couple parents already this morning, prior to jumping on with you. So it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy, but by no means is it just me. We have 18 great coaches. We have a lot of interns that come back. We have players that, if I mentioned, you would know right off the top of your head, that are playing in college baseball right now, that are home. Some are playing in the NEBCL, some are playing in the Futures Leagues. And they're back at practice with us. They're alumni. They come back and they give back, and they're welcomed to come in all the time. And some come down and we'll throw bullpens, and some will come down and they'll work out. Ian Cook was in last week. We were hoping for a different outcome on the draft with him. He's going back up to the Cape. He went back up yesterday. He was in to talk with the guys, and he was in to work out with me. So, the goals don't stop when, a 21 or 22 or 19-year-old comes in that you had in your organization from they were 14 or 15. You want to continue to help them. You're not asking them to, hey, it cost you this to come in. It's like, no, come in, work out, help the next group, learn the environment, create the culture, keep a positive, mindset and standard of this is the example. To me, that's the trophy, is you're investing in people, not in baseball players. And too many people have that backwards.
Yeah, and then it gives your high school guys a chance to see, like, this is where I need to get if I want to go to UConn like Ian Cook. I need to play at that level or pitch at that level. I agree with your point, too, that the recruiting, or from a recruiting perspective, that going through the portal does make it harder for these college coaches to culture building is so much harder because guys are in and out. If you're not playing freshman year, you're going to risk losing that guy because they can go play somewhere else, right away. But I do think it maybe makes it easier for college coaches from the perspective of kind of reducing that margin of error when you're recruiting. It's easier to look at a guy and say, okay, he hit 300 in the Big East last year. We're going to sign him, and he's going to do that here. Or we've seen guys at Eastern Connecticut or Endicott go, to UConn and put up numbers there. And so you're like, right. I've seen this done. I know what it is. I'm not projecting as much what they need to do from the high school level to get to college and play at this Big East level. But it's interesting. There's pluses and minuses, I guess, and probably on the whole, it depends on where you're sitting in the sport to determine if it's a plus or minus for you. I do want to get back to the Mental Performance Academy because that's something it jumped out on you. I was just kind of looking at your website to get ready for this, and that jumped out at me because I don't see that on many other many other travel ball programs. What made you think that needed to be such a priority? I know baseball is such a sport of failure. And what type of things are you doing with the guys to make sure they're at their peak mentally when they're stepping on the field?
Yeah, so Anthony Daniello is our mental performance coach. He also is a school teacher. He actually is a PE teacher at elementary school, and he grew up in the Norwalk area, went to Norwalk schools, coached at Brian McMahon High School for quite some time, and then relocated down to North Carolina. And he comes up and spends his summers here with us, and is an educator like myself and many of the others. And we talk about all the pressures that the kids face now that we didn't face growing up. This is particularly the social media, and most of it's smoke and mirrors. A lot of what's being put out there by other organizations, individual hitting or fielding gurus, is just all smoke and mirrors. There's not a lot of substance to a lot of stuff that's out there, whether it's on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram or whatever it is. But people are trying to sell their product, so to speak, right? So we see this where there's been a lot of unfortunate situations where kids have done some self-harm that were connected to kids in our program. And as teachers, I know where we would have these advisor-advisee sessions at school, and you're trying to connect with kids and give them outlets to discuss whatever it might be. But unless you actually have a relationship with a player or anybody, it's hard to get people to trust and talk about those things. So we want the players to feel as though, they're not the only person experiencing this. So Anthony has done a lot of training in the mental health field, and him and I wrote a curriculum, and we put a plan together. We actually have an app that we'll use and a series of things that we go through with the players. And in the winters, we have a monthly Zoom call, so everybody's expected to be on it. And it's once a month. They have tasks, they have responsibilities that they need to do. And as we move in through the summer, we have small breakout sessions. Kids can sign up for individual sessions with them. We do large group sessions, we do small group sessions, but it's an outlet for kids, and we're trying to teach kids strategies on how to make those adjustments when failure happens. And as you said, we have a joke in the program, and the kids will make fun of me because I'm constantly saying it's a game of failure. So before we break the huddle, they're like, hey, it's a game of failure. And yeah, it is a game of failure, but like anything in life, how we adjust to getting knocked down and making the adjustment will determine our character and who we are as a person from a long-term perspective. So we're trying to get them to understand that this is part of life. Baseball is just a metaphor of what's going to happen as they move forward. They always have choices, right? You can go left, you can go right, you can go over, you can go under, you can go through any roadblock, or you can quit. And we're trying to teach them to have some mental toughness, which society has basically taken out of the equation, being in a classroom. The days of saying, suck it up and deal with it, or suck it up and get over it, have really come and gone. We don't create competitive environments for kids anymore. And that hurts them as they move forward, where, we were in the backyards playing against neighborhood teams and each other, brothers, sisters, cousins. We'd fight over a card game or a board game. Those things don't exist any longer. So what are we going to do? We have to adjust. It's just like communicating and being on this podcast with you, or having phone conversations with you. Our kids would rather sit and text with each other, even if they're in the same room. So I think it's our responsibility as adults to try to help kids with better communication skills, body language, body posture. Nobody holds them accountable to anything anymore. And we do hold the kids, the players, as well as the parents accountable for what happens within our organization. And it has to be a vested interest between the players and the parents. And some kids have a hard time with that. And some kids quit because they look for an excuse for why things didn't go the way they want. And we don't give them those excuses because we're not going to lower the bar. So it's tough. And Anthony's done a great job. And we kind of continue to invest in the person, not the player. And that's where this all stemmed from. As being in a classroom for 26 years, you see a lot of personalities, you see a lot of challenging situations, and you like to be able to save and help every kid. The reality is you're not going to. But if you're able to connect and help one kid make it through that series, or a kid's able to come back and say, hey, something you said a year ago clicked. That's all you can do is put the kids in the right situation, and then they have to make that choice. So by us not giving them that option, that's our fault. And if you look at the majority of, you talk about just mental health in general, college baseball, go back and look at the amount of teams that have won the national championships, and you'll see the majority of them have a full-time mental health coach. It's a huge component for college sports right now. And, being on the pro side with the Texas Rangers, we have it too. And so do a lot of other, professional organizations, because you're investing in the person. So the performance can't be expected to raise to the level you want, especially at the pro side, if you're not dealing with the off-field stuff, or you're not dealing with the locker room things, or even they're dealing with social media stuff too, and they're being monitored. So everybody's behaviors are really important, and it's stressful, stressful in general. It's a stressful time.
Yeah. No, I think it's so smart to be intentional about how they approach this social media, because it's crazy what you see on there now. Like, guys aren't even just announcing commitments. They announce offers now. I got offered by this guy, and you're like, if I was a college coach and I offered somebody and he's just throwing it out there without accepting it or making a commitment, like, I'd be upset about that. And then, you guys have doing the crow hops into the pull down, exit velocity readings everywhere you look. It's difficult to know how to navigate that. So, I give you credit for helping them with that.
Attention coaches, need baseball bat bags that last? Meet No Errors, crafting premium quality bags since 2004, the top choice for durability. Choose from stock bags for quick delivery or our semi-custom program for personalized logos in just 10 to 12 days. For a unique team look, try our full custom program. Let No Errors design your next team bags. Visit noerrors.com. That's no-errors.com for details. No Errors, where durability meets style.
Are you looking to increase your batting average and reduce strikeouts? Max BP Reaction Training is the #1 training tool to improve hand-eye coordination, have better pitch recognition, and see off-speed adjustments. Max BP is used and trusted by baseball professionals. It's portable and easy to use and is the ultimate training tool for athletic vision. Max BP invites all Base Path podcast listeners to receive 10% off their order by using code MAXNEBJ24. To get on base more, visit maxbp.com. That's maxbp.com and watch your batting skills increase.
Looking to keep up with all the latest news and information on New England baseball? New England Baseball Journal and BaseballJournal.com are the premier resources for information and inspiration on the New England baseball scene. Have every issue of New England Baseball Journal, the magazine, delivered to your home or office. And don't forget to stay in the game every day with a digital subscription to BaseballJournal.com to receive baseball coverage on clubs, college commits, prep and high school, Division 1, 2, and 3 colleges, showcases, rankings, and much more. Get in the game and behind the scenes now by going to BaseballJournal.com. Just click on the subscribe button and start the subscription that is right for you today. New England Baseball Journal is a Seamans Media publication. Seamans Media. Inspiring, informative, insightful.
I know you got to get back to practice, so why don't we, if you have time do you have time to do our 3 up, 3 down segment?
Yeah,
Okay.
We have 18 guys at practice right now with the kids, so I'm not worried about running back to practice.
Thank you. Well, let me introduce you to our producer, David Yaz, and he's going to ask the questions for 3 up, 3 down.
Okay.
3 up, 3 down.
Yes, welcome back to 3 Up, 3 Down, where both of our panelists today get 3 questions that they are completely unprepared for. And today we're going to do something just slightly bit different. What you're going to hear are 3 quotes about the sport of baseball from people, names that you will recognize. And then you just react, pro, con, or otherwise. Tell me what you think of the quote. Coach, you're the guest, so you get to go first. Here is the first one. Yankee great Joe DiMaggio said the following. A ball player spends a good time of his life gripping a baseball, and in the end, it turns out that it was the other way around all the time. A little bit of eloquence from the Yankee Clipper there. They're talking about the hold a baseball can have on your life. Coach, any thoughts on that?
100%. We talk about it all the time with us as coaches, and we've looked at each other and held the ball and said, where would you be without this ball? What has that baseball given to you? It's given me back more than I could ever give it back. The people I've met, the opportunities I've had, the places I've traveled, being here with Dan and doing this morning, this wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for baseball. So yeah, it definitely has a way of pulling you in. Sometimes it's it's like a relationship. Sometimes it's great and you love it, and other times you want to run as far away from it as you possibly can. But somehow it just pulls you right back in. It's an amazing sport, and I wouldn't want it any other way. So.
Well, that is a tremendous answer. I'd hate to have to be the guy to give the next answer. Oh, that's you, Dan. We need your thoughts on the DiMaggio quote.
Well, it reminded me, just listening to Pat there, of Jim Leland's Hall of Fame speech. I don't know if you saw that.
I haven't seen it yet. No.
Oh, yeah, I would recommend that to anybody listening. Take the time to listen to it. It just talks about what baseball has given him, and just all the, sitting with your dad, watching it on the couch growing up, watching games, the smell of the field, just every nuance of baseball is sitting there in the bleachers, in the sun and watching it for your hometown team. Just so many things to like. It's, and for baseball, for me now, it pays the bills for me. It's my profession. So it's given me so much. And, like you said, there's nothing I can do to top Pat's answer, but I feel the same way he does about the sport.
I think you both were channeling the ghost of shoeless Joe Jackson from Field of Dreams there. Both great. Next quote, and Dan, you can take this one first. It comes from Dodger great Sandy Koufax, and Sandy said the following. Pitching is the art of instilling fear. What do you think about that one? Is that true? Is there truth to that?
So, yes, I do think there is truth to that. It's interesting. Sandy Koufax was a little bit before my time, and I didn't realize that that was his approach, where he was like trying to intimidate. I think of, Pedro that way, or like Bob Gibson. Yeah, I was going to say. Yep. But yeah, no, I think it is. You have to kind of, you don't want players comfortable in the batter's box. You want them kind of on their heels and having a tough time adjusting to your approach on the mound. So yeah, I think fear is necessary to succeed on the mound.
Coach, your thoughts?
100%. The guy who has the baseball in his hand the most is the person in control all the time. And that's the pitcher. It's just like a quarterback in the center. It starts with the pitcher and the catcher. And unfortunately, I don't think enough people, pitch with fear any longer, because you can tell by who's afraid to go inside. The guys that will go inside and push hitters off the plate, those are the guys that everybody wants to think about charging the mound on nowadays, where, Koufax and as you said, Bob Gibson was one of the most, feared pitchers, because they knew, you crowded the plate or you tried to bunt on him and broke up a no-hitter, or did something that he wasn't comfortable with, they were coming at you. We don't teach that any longer. Somebody gets hit, somebody else is going to get drilled. You come in spikes high, you're going to take care of it when you get in that batter's box. Those were the unwritten rules of the game, where they've kind of tried to dial a lot of that back. And I'm not promoting violence within the game of baseball, but there are certain things that do need to get taken care of in the field, and pitchers have the responsibility to protect their players. And that's where that fear comes from. The man in control. That's the guy holding the ball on a mound. Yeah.
Well, it's almost akin to when I coached basketball, youth basketball. If there was a player on the other team who was just lighting you up, I would say to our team, this guy needs to get fouled, and it needs to be a hard foul. There's a difference between a hard foul and a dirty foul, not illegal, not a technical foul, but let him know you're there. And in like manner, the pitcher will, I remember if memory serves, in the legendary 04 ALCS, the Yanks had that player, Hideki Matsui. Was that his name? Great hitter, right?
Right. Yeah.
Did I have that right? Okay.
Yeah, you have that right.
And he was killing us. And then finally, somebody knocked him down. Now, they didn't hit him. They didn't send him to the hospital, but they knocked him down. And I think he went 0 for 11 after that. So let him know you're there, right?
Right.
All right. We got time for one more quote. This one comes to us from Reggie Jackson. And Mr. October said the following: "A great manager has a knack for making ball players think they are better than they think they are." Coach, why don't you take that one first?
Yeah, we preach it all the time. I try to tell the kids, we believe in you more than you believe in yourselves, because you're going to fail. And as a coach, you have to draw that line somewhere and let them know when they're doing things well, and keep, inflating their ego, even when they feel terrible that day. It's a hard game. It's not for the mentally weak. It's not for the thin-skinned. And look at all the conflict Jackson had with Billy Martin back in the day, right? So it wasn't always this harmonious relationship, but he played better, right? Under Martin, probably, than any other manager he had. And that was the most probably strenuous relationship that Hall of Famer had.
Yeah.
And performed the best in the big spots, right? That's why he was Mr. October. So
those Yankee teams of the 70s somehow did better when the clubhouse got more chaotic. They just played better. They just played better. Dan, your thoughts on that quote?
Yeah, I love it. Charlie Manuel, Phillies manager, is my favorite baseball manager of all time. And I remember, when the Phillies won that World Series in 2008, he would just come in every day. It would be 95 degrees, and he'd be like, "It's hitting season today. These boys are going to hit today." And then guys would go into slumps. They'd be like 0 for 16 or 0 for their last 20, and he's like, "He's going to hit, and I can't wait till he does, because we're going to get hot and we're going to start winning games." And you'd be like, I don't know. I guess he's selling me on it, but I think that guy might struggle for a while. But Terry Francona was that way too. Like, there's a legendary story of Pedroia coming up from the minor leagues and struggling for like the first month. And Terry Francona was like, "We're going to leave him in, and when he gets going, watch out." So I think it's, the manager has to be that way where because like you said, it's such a sport of failure that guys are going to get down on themselves and they need somebody to say, no, you're going to be okay. And when you get going, we go as you go.
You don't have to be a cheerleader to be a good manager. You could be a lot of great managers have been disciplinarians, but I have a soft spot for the cheerleaders like Manuel, like Tommy Lasorda. Just all, you're going to get a big ball of positivism. And that's it for 3 Up, 3 Down. Tremendous peanuts and Cracker Jacks all around. Thank you for being a good sport, Coach. And back to you, Dan, to wrap things up.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks to Pat Vigilio for joining us on the Base Path Podcast. Rate, review, subscribe to the Base Path Podcast on your preferred platform. Thanks to our producer, David Yaz. The Base Path Podcast is a Seamans Media production.